by the way?
It is being recorded.
Okay.
So, all right. So, well, thank you all for joining us for this very first virtual press conference. My name is Kelly Purse-Brassett. I'm the Strategic Communications Director with this city. I want to ask you guys for your grace in this because, as I said, we've never done this before on Zoom. We put it together quickly, and I'm sure there are folks who missed getting to be part of this. And I'm hoping that your questions will answer everyone's questions, and we can get everyone the same information at the same time. This will be recorded and posted on our website as well. I want to introduce the folks at the virtual podium for you guys. Interim Police Chief Aaron Jelcick, that is Jelcick. Assistant City Manager Keith Staley, and it's Stahley. And Thurston County Homeless Prevention Coordinator Keely Marino. And the first name is Keylee, and the last name is Marineau. And I see that Deborah Horn has joined us. I want to thank Deborah from Cairo for being here. Thank you. I want to remind you guys, the city staff, these folks here are going to be making statements for you. We've got a short timeline, half an hour we're devoting to this. The first half of this is going to be about their statements, I think, and then the last half of this, give or take, is going to be open for you guys to ask questions. We are not taking any public comment. We have people watching. I see about 61 people who are watching the press conference. And I also want to clarify, there are two parts to this conversation that are two separate issues. The first of this, and this kind of drove you all here, is to give you an update on the police response to the occupation of the downtown Red Lion Hotel yesterday. And then the second part is to take the opportunity to let you guys know what we are doing around housing and homelessness, since that issue drove what happened yesterday. I'm going to call, when it comes to question and answer, I'm going to call on reporters based on, well, sort of how you fall in my screen, but also I kind of tried to capture everybody as they came in. So I kind of got you numbered. I don't want it to feel as random as that sounds, but that's how I'm going to do it, just so I can catch you. I know people move around on the screen, so I want to make sure that everything is, everyone gets the same shot at this. And I'm going to thank you for going with my weird kind of flow. As I mentioned, we're recording the meeting. It'll be posted on the city website following the press event. And just give us a little time, I guess an hour or so to do that. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Chief Jelcick to have his say.
Well, thank you for being here. Good afternoon. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the events that took place yesterday in the city of Olympia pertaining to the response that we had, a police response. Basically, yesterday, we had an event that occurred in downtown Olympia in which a local activist group unlawfully entered a local hotel in downtown Olympia and attempted to take control of that through threats, through intimidation, and acts of violence. And so this started yesterday at about 11 a.m. Sunday, January 31st, where we received a 911 call from the staff at the Hotel Red Lion Suites indicating that there was some sort of protest activity taking place out in front of the hotel, out and around in front of the hotel. There was described to be 35 people, all dressed in dark clothing, black clothing. Many of them were carrying what were described to be weapons, things like clubs, sticks, knives, and other items. Our officers did respond to the scene at that time. We did see and confirm that there were 30 to 35 people there as described by hotel staff, most dressed in all dark clothing. Many were carrying things like clubs and sticks and those type of items that were described. That's not uncommon for us to have protests. We've navigated probably 70 to 75 protests over the course of the last 9 months in the city of Olympia. But what was different here is that a short time later, we received around noon that day, we received a 911 call. The large group of these individuals had entered the hotel. They were carrying sticks, clubs, other items, batons, knives, a hatchet, and they were threatening staff and letting them know they were going to take control of the hotel. At one point, one of the staff members indicated that he was assaulted by being pushed and threatened with a knife. The staff members there were terrified. They immediately, very shortly thereafter, immediately went down to the basement and fled into the basement and locked themselves in a laundry room. We remained online with staff to ensure that they were in a safe place, and we gathered information about what was happening. These staff didn't feel comfortable fleeing out of the building because there were a large number of protesters out and around the front of the building as well. So you had about 7 employees that were working that retreated down to that area of the basement. There were a number of rooms being rented within the facility. There were about 40 rooms being rented that were not associated with any of this. And later we learned there were 17 rooms that were rented by this group, which was Oli Housing Now, to promote some sort of awareness for housing and homelessness, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we further learned that this group had booked 17 rooms on Saturday, the day before, and indicated it was for some sort of wedding party, and that they had gone out into some of the more heavily populated areas within the city, heavily populated meaning for homeless camps, and solicit some of those individuals who unknowingly were exploited by this group to further this cause. This group paid for 17 rooms. There were over 30 individuals from our homeless community that were solicited to stay in those rooms, and they were told they could stay in those rooms indefinitely, not to move out of those rooms the following day when it was checkout time. So shortly thereafter, we learned that we would need to do an immediate response. We reached out to our regional law enforcement partners, Thurston County Sheriff's Office, Washington State Patrol, along with the Olympia Police Department, developing an operations plan to deal with this. We had no idea how many individuals were part of the protest that had occupied any of these rooms, where they were at. Most of the cameras within the facility, which we had access to, have been covered by individuals inside. So we gathered an operations plan, put together an operations plan, and hours later, while still maintaining contact with the individuals within the facility, searched the entire hotel room by room under the authority of the search warrant that was gained by our staff through a Thurston County Superior Court judge. Total, we did most of the folks that were associated with this group left the facility prior to us getting there. So we did contact 37 folks within the hotel that were renting rooms that were not associated. They were offered services, they were offered food, and taken to a secure location within the hotel while we processed each room. We did contact a number of folks from our homeless community. Many are very highly marginalized folks, and connected them with services. None of them were charged with any crimes whatsoever. We did arrest a total of 10 people as a result of this incident and event. The 10 arrests are as follows. 5 were arrested associated with this group for burglary in the first degree. That this investigation will continue. We'll try to identify more individuals. That is for unlawful entry into a premise or building with the intent to commit a crime and while armed, and many of these individuals were. We arrested another individual for assault in the first degree who was outside in the protest, armed with a knife, threatening others. We arrested several individuals inside the facility in rooms that we contacted who had felony warrants. And we had an arrest for unlawful possession of a controlled substance with the intent to deliver, drug dealing, and one for obstructing a public servant. There were within the facility, there were no significant uses of force on any of the individuals as a result of this. There were no injuries as a result of contact with police. There were no munitions used other than outside of the facility, and there were minimal munitions used inside the facility as a result of clearing 2 rooms. So that is a synopsis of this event, and I will be open to questions here when we're finished.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Keith, I'm going to let you weigh in.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm Keith Staley. I'm Assistant City Manager for the city, and my portfolio includes homeless response and housing, and that's what I'll be speaking about today, is the city's homeless response basically since 2018 up until today. Obviously, I'm going to keep that at a pretty high level, but just touch on the significant events over the last few years. In the summer of 2018, the city declared an emergency, as did the county, related to homelessness, the public health impacts related to homelessness. In the fall of 2018, we saw a rapid increase in the number of homeless people living in our downtown. In the winter of 2018, we established the mitigation site. And for those of you who are familiar with our downtown, you know that the mitigation site is at the corner of Adams and Olympia and houses between 85 and 90 homeless individuals and is operated with the Catholic Community Services right now. In February of 2019, we created the Plum Street Village, Thurston County's first tiny house village, 29 units there, and is managed by the Low Income Housing Institute. In the fall of 2019, the city acquired a 1.1 acre property at the corner of Patterson and Martin called 2828 Martin Way. That property is currently under development for a supportive housing facility and a shelter with contracts with Low Income Housing Institute and Interfaith Works to provide those services. In February of 2020, the City of Olympia accepted our One Community Healthy, Safe, and House plan after over a year of participatory leadership process associated with that. In March, we partnered with 2828 Martin to turn it into a temporary shelter. That was done in cooperation with our friends at the county. I'm really glad that Keely is here. We work almost on a daily basis together, and we're working together yesterday in regards to this incident. We worked to expand the hygiene services at the mitigation site by adding 2 additional hygiene trailers to that site, a total of 6 shower capacity and restrooms to that facility. In the spring of 2020, the city became a partner with Family Support Center to build a 65 unit facility on the west side of Olympia off of 7th Avenue Southwest. In the summer of 2020, in cooperation with LOT, we added the hygiene units at the mitigation site. In January of 21, we contracted with Earth Homes to build 60 micro houses. They are in production right now and will replace the tents at the mitigation site. That work is ongoing. In January of 21, we continue to work with Thurston County to find solutions and options for safe parking, for mitigation sites, for additional tiny house villages, and for other supportive housing facilities. We're in cooperation and communication with them on, again, a near daily basis, and they support the Regional Housing Council, which has taken a leadership role in policy development and project development for these type of services. And then finally, last but not least, Aaron mentioned the crisis response unit and Familiar Faces that were both involved in the incident yesterday. Those services have continued to be used and expanded and will expand this year. So again, like Aaron, I'll be happy to answer questions, but that's a brief summary of our homeless response over the last few years.
Okay, Keely, do you have anything you want to add?
My name is Keely Marino. I'm the Thurston County Homeless Prevention and Affordable Housing Coordinator and have been so since January of 2019. And just a brief introduction to the county response and our partnership with City of Olympia. Since 2013, Thurston County has distributed well over $40 million into our homeless crisis response system to support affordable housing projects and homeless response. That can look like emergency shelters, outreach services, cold weather response, permanent supportive housing, homeless prevention and diversion, and other such related. As Keith Staley mentioned, in June of 2018, the Thurston County Board of Health declared homelessness a public health crisis. And a part of that declaration, it was very clearly stated that a formal relationship would, or informal, between the City of Olympia and Thurston County would develop, in which we would support the efforts of City of Olympia's homeless response from our Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention. So from that point, since my hiring, we have met on nearly a weekly basis, and as Keith Staley just mentioned, on nearly a daily basis since 2020, to ensure that all of our efforts are in coordination with each other, that we're working in tandem, that they're comprehensive, and that they're mutually supportive. In 2020, following the Stay Home, Stay Safe order as it went into place, Thurston County and City of Olympia again met almost on a daily basis to ensure that our response was swift, coordinated, and comprehensive. In 2020, Thurston County distributed over $12 million for homeless response and another $4.8 million in rental assistance. And some of the projects that we worked on at that time, once the Stay Home, Stay Safe orders were announced, were initially 2 weeks of hotel rooms for very vulnerable homeless individuals with the City of Olympia. We contracted with the City of Olympia, and this contract continues to provide hygiene and encampments that include hand washing stations and portable toilets, and there are garbage facilities there. We increased emergency shelter. We took some shelters that were not 24/7 and ensured that they were 24/7. We increased shelter-in-place outreach efforts for those who were remaining as residents in encampments, and created a food delivery service during the height of COVID-19. So all of these, as Keith said, we're working together to explore safe parking programs, scattered site program management of encampments and folks living in vehicles, and are here to show our support and to answer any questions.
Thank you guys. So we wanted to frame this for you guys so that not only you got a sense of what the police response was yesterday, but also to see the context of our homeless response and the depth of it, the breadth of it, and that we're working regionally to address this. And so with that, I'm going to open it up to the question period. We're going to wrap this up at 4, so it looks like we got about 12 minutes on this. I got a list. I sort of getting everybody as they showed up. I want to make sure everything's fair and equal shots. So, you know, if I feel like you're hogging, I might step in. Also, I want to make sure, because we have, particularly since we have so little time, that we stay on topic and scope of the topic. So I might step in if we're like drifting off on another topic as well. So I'm going to open it up for Brandon Block from the Olympian, and then Drew Mickelson from King 5 can follow him after that. Go ahead, Brandon.
Hi, I have 2 questions. 33 homeless people were staying at the Red Lion Inn over the weekend, and the statement that the city put out said that those people were removed from the hotel and put in touch with the crisis response unit. Where are those people now?
Who best wants to take that one? Keith, do you?
My understanding is those individuals have either returned to Deschutes Parkway or have found other places to be.
Yeah, 4 of those individuals accepted assistance for shelter associated with our crisis responders last night. The other individuals declined any services.
Okay.
What kind of shelter?
I don't have that information right now.
Anything else, Brandon?
Yeah, I have one more question. So the most recent point in time count shows that there are 450 unsheltered people in the county. And my understanding is that there are about 330 shelter beds available in the county, including the 100 or so at the mitigation site. So that leaves about 210 people with no options. So does the city have any plans to expand shelter capacity, or especially non-congregate shelter capacity?
Absolutely. That's what Keely and I have spent much of the last 3 to 6 months on, is looking at options to expand both supportive housing and immediate emergency sheltering options. Frankly, it's a very difficult problem, and one that doesn't have easy solutions. And as she indicated, we're now looking at expanding our scattered site support for the people that are camping in our rights of way and along our sidewalks to provide them with additional support. Keely, anything else to add to that?
I think you pretty much covered it. It is absolutely a focus of our work at the county, constantly working with service providers to do what we can to meet the needs of as many unsheltered individuals as possible, and when not possible, then providing them shelter-in-place outreach services to at least keep them dry and safe.
Okay. Anything else?
I have one more question. It's a quick one.
Okay, because I promised Drew.
Okay. So interim police chief Jelchik said that no homeless people were charged with a crime, is what I heard. One of the people who was arrested told the Olympian that he lived at Deschutes Parkway. So I was just, can you clarify that?
Yeah, no folks who were from our homeless community were charged with any crimes associated with trespass at the hotel. There were several individuals with warrants. There was one who was arrested for the unlawful possession of a controlled substance with the intent to deliver. So associated with being at the hotel and staying at the hotel, there was no one charged for that trespass issue.
Okay. Drew, you want to ask your question? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, here we go. So a question for, this is a clarification for Keely. Did you say 40 million over the last 2 years?
No, since
What did I hear?
from 2013.
Since 2013, 40 million, and that's county and city.
That's county.
That's just county. Understood. Thank you. And for Mr. Staley, this group had a list of demands, if you will. They wanted to raise awareness. They wanted their efforts to help the homeless, mentioning applying for FEMA funding and stopping the sweeps. Will anything change in the city's approach after what happened at the Red Lion yesterday?
No, absolutely not. We will continue to work with FEMA to access the maximum amount of funds that are available to Thurston County and our residents. We'll continue to operate our homeless response in the same manner that we have, in a fair and impartial manner, and in keeping with the laws of the state of Washington. We're very aware of the guidance from the Attorney General's office in regards to, quote unquote, sweeps of homeless encampments, and we'll be following the Attorney General's guidance on that.
And so one of their demands called for the health department to apply for FEMA funding. Is that something that, I know you're not with the health department, but has the county maximized that FEMA?
That is one of the things that Keely and I are working directly on today. Keely?
Yes, thank you for asking. We are looking into it at the county very vigorously, and there will be a presentation given to the Board of County Commissioners on this matter tomorrow morning at the agenda setting meeting.
And Keely, maybe I'll ask you the same question. Do you think this will bring about any change? Did this help the situation or make it worse?
I think that's a very complicated question with a very complicated answer. We at the county are going to continue supporting our service providers that have been operating in our county for some of them decades, providing them with the support that they need in terms of technical assistance and continuing to fund them to operate doing what they do best.
Okay, I want to make sure other folks get a chance. Nick Popham from Como, you want to step in and followed by Deborah?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Was wondering if you guys have had previous run-ins with some of these protesters. Has this been something that was on your radar at all, or just took you completely by surprise? Do you have you had any sense of these folks before this weekend's incident?
Who would like to take one?
We're aware of this group having had some activity up in Pierce County. We were not aware that they were going to have an event down in the state of Olympia on Sunday. Typically, we monitor most of our open source media sites for this type of information, but we had no indication that this type of event was going to transpire.
Okay, thanks. Anything else, Nick? I'll move on to Deborah.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Deborah Horn from Cairo. You're muted, Deborah. Oh, still can't hear you. You are not muted on our end. No, we can't hear you. You want to put it in the chat and I'll read it? We'll give Deborah some time. This is, you know, we're all living in the Zoom world. So these are the things that happen. Still can't hear you. Yeah, if you put it in chat, I'll read it for you. Okay, she's putting it in chat. Okay, the complaints I have heard are that police were too heavy-handed.
Well, that's a broad question. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but what I will tell you is this was a very complicated.
In response to that, yes.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, she asked if any response.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was a very complicated event to try to navigate, meaning that we did have to have a large number of officers, not only to properly maintain the safety and security of those who are processing inside of the hotel facility, but we had to have enough folks to be able to adequately maneuver throughout all 100 plus rooms within the hotel safely and do it slowly and methodically. So there was a lot of moving parts here in addition to having crisis responders on scene, connecting them to folks that were in need of services. There was a lot going on. The key to this is to ensure that we do this safely and that everybody is treated with dignity and respect, and we're able to vet who is supposed to be in those rooms and not be in those rooms. It's very important that we had enough staff to adequately do that. When you're talking about 40 guests and another 30 plus guests who were from the homeless community that were there as well, and then another half a dozen or so folks that were associated with this group. So when you say heavy-handed, if you're talking about the sheer numbers of officers that we had on scene, we absolutely had to have those numbers of officers to adequately maneuver this in a way that promoted de-escalation. You know, time, distance, and numbers are our friend when it comes to making sure we ensure de-escalation and the safe execution of something of this magnitude.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are at 4 o'clock. And so I want to thank you all for coming. I want to remind you that this is being recorded and we will be posting it on a website after it goes through whatever magical process Zoom does to make a video. It'll take some time. And I want to thank Aaron and Keith and Keely for being here and answering all these questions. I also want to send out my I guess my sort of sympathies and heartfelt for, I think about the staff of the Red Lion Hotel. And I know that they were frightened, and, you know, that I think about them for that in this as well. So thank you all. I'm going to press the end meeting button and you will all go away.